Today is June 1st, and that means it's the beginning of hurricane season. Hurricane season runs from June 1st through November 30th. So if you live in Florida, you want to be prepared for hurricanes, and not just hurricanes. You've got tropical storms, tropical depressions, and just bad summer storms that knock power out and can cause some flooding and other problems. So be ready. The state of Florida has offered a tax-free weekend on emergency preparedness supplies, so that's awesome. So go out and get your supplies, save some money, not having to pay taxes on those items. There's specific items, and you'd have to go online and see what's included in all that. Some of the things that we did in our house for hurricane season was, one, we had a generator. Thankfully, we never really had to use it, but we always ran it 3-4 times a year just to make sure it kept working. Always have extra water and food. I love Honeyville. I'll leave their link in the description box. They have canned foods that will last for years. I'm not sure if it's 10 to 35 years, something like that. But it's nice to have that on hand. And not just for those of you who are living here in Florida, but anywhere in the world. It's good to be prepared, because we lived in Ohio all our lives. And you know, if you live up north, you get those ice storms, snowstorms. You could be stuck indoors for a while. The power goes out. So be prepared for your area. If you live in the cold, make sure you could stay warm. And if you're in the heat in Florida, make sure you could stay cool. The power goes out. If you know a hurricane's coming and you need to evacuate, get your hotel room ahead of time if you need to get out, because they get booked very quickly. If you have pets, make sure you find out the nearest pet shelter that will take pets. After Katrina, I've discussed this before about Katrina, where they wouldn't let people bring their pets. But after that, there was a big uproar and they made some changes. And a lot of places now accept pets, but they have to be in a carrier, and I think you have to make sure they have shots and you have your paperwork with you. One of the things that I personally like to carry in the summer in my car is this fan. It comes in handy because you could fill it up with water, but I like to fill it up with ice, maybe add a little water to it, because it'll melt fast enough and spritz yourself, keeps you cool. A lot of people have these misters that they put on their hose and sit in the backyard to cool themselves off. And the other thing that we did that I used to do even back up north, summer, in the winter, you didn't have to worry too much about refrigerator in the winter because your garage was good enough, kept everything cold or frozen. But down here, what I like to do is the orange juice containers. I make sure I clean them out really good. I like to fill them up 3/4 full with water and stick them in the freezer. And they turn into ice blocks. If the power goes out, the refrigerator can stay cool, or the same with the freezer. And your food won't go bad until you eat it. And again, no matter where you live, you probably should know where your evacuation route is and where you should go if you're in an area where you need to leave. Because even if you're not in an area that you would evacuate normally, you never know. You hear about trucks flipping over on the highway and you have to leave your home because it's nearby, it's got fumes, and they say you got to get out, or a wildfire, something, for some reason you would have to leave your house. So it's a good idea to have a bug out bag. If you don't have a bug out bag, there's lots of videos on YouTube that will tell you what you should have in there. And definitely medication, water, some food, change of clothes. That's just a start. Cash. If the ATMs go down, you need cash. So if you're new to emergency preparedness, I highly recommend that you watch as many videos as you can on YouTube and learn more about it, because I think everyone should be prepared. And I'm not saying this to scare you, and I'm saying this so you could sleep better at night. So if something does happen, you could say that you've done all you could to be prepared. And if something happens, it happens. There's not much you can do about it. But it's kind of nice if you're prepared. You know, you got to change your clothing, you'll be comfortable, if you got extra food for your kids, you've got some cash. So you could sleep better knowing that you've got the basics covered. And also having skills that comes in handy. So always teach yourself as much as you can. And I'm telling you, YouTube has everything you need to know. If you want to learn to hunt or cook or grow things, it's all on YouTube. So I'm definitely a fan of YouTube. Not only do we have an extra bug out bag at home, but I like to have one in the car. What if you can't get home? You want to have the extra change of clothes, some water, food, all that. And also make a plan with your family, especially if you have small kids and they're at school. Make sure they know where to go. I'm sure schools even have plans. And I don't have kids in school, so I don't know what they're doing these days. But definitely make sure your family has a plan where you can meet up if for some reason you can't make it back home. So that's pretty important. The other thing that would be nice is to really get to know your neighbors, because during a time of disaster, emergency, people come together, and if you already know them, it sure helps when you have to ask somebody for help, or if they need help, you already know who they are, so you know they're not just some stranger coming for help. You know who they are and you can help them out. So it's nice that people get to know each other. So when somebody needs help, you're all there together and you don't have to go through something like that alone, because I've heard some stories of the hurricane survivors from over the years and they're pretty scary. We've been lucky we have not had to go through a hurricane, and I hope we don't. It's not just Florida. Hurricanes can happen all along the Gulf and up the Atlantic there, and even if you don't get straight hit on, you can get the wind and the rain and from the hurricanes, the leftovers, and boys, that could be pretty bad, as many of you know who've been through disasters. And out west, even on the Pacific, you can get hurricanes. Like I said, it's not just hurricanes. Emergency preparedness is not just for hurricanes. It's really for every single natural disaster, man-made disaster, or even for something as simple as getting the flu. If you're single and you got the flu, you can't leave the house. You want to make sure you have some soup at home, some tea, some medicine at home, the basics. And if you have kids, make sure you know what you're going to do. If you get sick and you don't have anybody to take care of them, figure that out ahead of time. I think planning for anything, especially emergency preparedness in advance, planning in advance, is the answer, because when the time comes, something happens, you're as prepared as you're going to be, and you can go through it calmly instead of panicking, thinking through what you would do during a disaster. The other thing too to think about, people lose jobs every day. If you lose a job, do you have enough food at home for a couple of weeks? Do you have enough cash to hold yourself over? How long can you hold yourself over? That's why I've mentioned about having emergency funds on hand, because something could happen where you can't go to work because you're sick, or you get fired, you get laid off, and you want to make sure that you could pay the bills, the rent, the mortgage, utilities, whatever bills you have, food, just to get by for a little while. Hope you enjoyed this video. Go get prepared if you aren't yet. If you are prepared, and I'm sure I have not mentioned lots of things, feel free to comment below and let our viewers know what you think they can do to be prepared to make things a little easier during a disaster. Again, thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like. Please share. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to live a passionate life.